It's official, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban are getting divorced. Their court papers now laid bare. One of Hollywood's longest-standing couples, meticulously carving up their assets and sharing custody of their children. There are also reports Urban is already seeing someone else.
Nicole Kidman had just filed for divorce when the truth finally slipped through the cracks, quiet, sharp, and impossible to ignore. Keith Urban blasted his heartbreak on stage, but Nicole exposed everything through silence. The ring gone, the posture steady, the message unmistakable. Their fairy tale hadn't broken overnight, it had been crumbling for years. So be prepared, you're gonna know every bit of this whole saga.
What's your name? What? I'm not gonna like your name. What?
The explosion didn't happen with fireworks, it happened with paperwork. Just like that, after nearly 2 decades of carefully choreographed togetherness, Nicole Kidman dropped a divorce filing that sliced straight through Hollywood's illusion machine. Irreconcilable differences, the document said, as if those 2 words could possibly hold the weight of 20 years of patching, balancing, shielding, absorbing, and protecting. The filing felt less like a request and more like a confession. She'd been holding everything together alone. And when the news hit, oh, the culture trembled. The timeline was almost too cinematic, too Nicole. She had just appeared poised and polished at events, smiling with the precision of someone who knows she's made a decision no one else is ready to accept. Those who had watched closely noticed the signs. The red carpets walked alone, the strategic silence, the increasingly intentional distance. But the world wasn't ready for the abruptness of the final blow. And yet, when Keith's ringless finger hit the stage lights days later, the puzzle snapped together. It was over. Not messy, not loud, just over. Nicole had detonated the fairy tale with the quiet efficiency of someone who'd spent years preparing for the earthquake. But this wasn't just a divorce. It was the moment the narrative shifted from golden couple to cracked foundation, and suddenly the world needed answers. Because if they couldn't survive the spotlight, who could?
There's so many sacrifices that
Totally.
in the industry, financial sacrifices, physical sacrifices,
Relationship sacrifices.
Yes.
You know, everything.
Here's the thing. When a celebrity marriage collapses, the public doesn't notice the beginning. They notice the unraveling. And Nicole and Keith's unraveling felt like watching a satin ribbon being tugged slowly from the hem of a dress. Graceful at first, then chaotic, then impossible to ignore. For years, they had clung to the performance of perfection, offering matching smiles and tear-filled thank yous, while insiders whispered that the seams were pulling apart behind closed doors. Nicole's stance in public shifted with microscopic precision. She started showing up solo, not once, not twice, but often enough that paparazzi photos began to look like statements. Meanwhile, Keith's tours kept expanding, those neon-lit stages becoming the place where he could exist without boundaries, expectations, or the kind of stability Nicole had always craved. He found freedom on the road. She felt abandoned by it. The fans didn't want to believe the cracks. They were addicted to the myth, the elegant actress and the reformed wild musician, healing each other through the worst and glowing through the best. But myths don't survive reality checks, and every time Nicole's composed expression tightened ever so slightly while reporters asked where Keith was, another thread snapped loose. The unraveling wasn't loud, it was exhausting. A slow-motion collapse that only looked sudden when the final strand finally snapped. Nicole Kidman has never been the table-flipping type. Her retaliation, if you could even call it that, came wrapped in stillness, delivered through absence, posture, and surgical restraint. And that's what made it so devastating. While Keith processed the end with guitars, amps, and crowds, Nicole processed it with a single gesture, removing her wedding ring. No altered lyrics, no shaded comments, just a hand lifted into a red carpet spotlight with a diamond notably missing. Her silence wasn't passive, it was pointed. It was the kind of silence that makes everyone else talk louder. The kind that forces the world to acknowledge that something has snapped, something deep and long protected. She devoted herself to her daughters with a fierceness that bordered on feral, a woman haunted by the ghosts of a past divorce, determined not to lose her children to circumstance again. And yet, that silence echoed louder than Keith's amps ever could. It hinted at exhaustion, at years of emotional caretaking, at the quiet dread of watching familiar patterns repeat. Nicole didn't accuse him of anything. She didn't need to. Her composure said it all. I protected this marriage until it drained me. And now I'm protecting myself. The world leaned in. What else had she been enduring all those years? Why speak now through silence instead of words? Her quiet became the scandal. Her stillness became the reveal. And suddenly, the question hanging in the air wasn't whether the marriage failed. It was how long she'd been carrying it alone. Keith Urban didn't just react, he combusted under the spotlight. Days after the divorce went public, he walked onto that Pennsylvania stage stripped of his wedding ring and stripped of his composure. For a man who once built his entire mythology on charm and vulnerability, this performance felt like something else entirely. An unfiltered broadcast of heartbreak, rage, and maybe accusation. Fans could practically feel the scorch when he twisted the lyric in "You'll Think of Me," an old breakup anthem reborn as a fresh wound. Take your unreasonable reasons. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't symbolic. It was Keith indicting their breakup under stadium lights with the confidence of someone who knows every camera phone pointed at him will become evidence. Then came the setlist surgery. The fighter, his once sacred ode to Nicole, vanished. Gone from the lineup, gone from the story, gone from the myth they'd curated for years. And the internet? It exploded. People spliced lyric changes, looped TikTok clips, and declared with unholy glee, he's changing the lore. But in between the bitterness, soft flickers appeared. Photos of him with his daughters flashed across screens during Heart Like a Hometown, exposing a man whose anger and grief were knotted tightly together. This wasn't just a concert, it was a confession booth set to guitar distortion, a public unraveling wrapped in melody. The stage was where Keith told his truth, raw, messy, and impossible to unsee. While Keith detonated his emotions on tour, Nicole maintained the elegance of a porcelain statue. Beautiful, unbroken, and quietly showing everyone the fractures beneath the glaze. This was the era where her image didn't break so much as crack slowly, revealing the woman behind the Hollywood myth. She appeared at film festivals without her ring, her gowns immaculate, her expressions soft but undeniably shadowed. And that subtle sadness, it became the plot twist. Fans zoomed in on her face the way archaeologists study hieroglyphs, searching for the emotional truth she refused to speak aloud. Nicole's entire public persona shifted from ethereal icon to quiet warrior. She poured herself into motherhood with iron determination, guiding her daughters through media storms with the experience of someone who had already lived the pain of losing family to a divorce with global consequences. Every paparazzi photo of her clasping their hands tighter than usual felt like a whispered declaration. Not again. Not this time. Meanwhile, the carefully maintained golden couple illusion that had carried them for 2 decades finally shattered. The curated red carpets and award show confessions cracked under the weight of reality. Their love story had always been a negotiation, between past wounds and present pressures, between stability and chaos. And now, the world was seeing the cost. Nicole didn't need to tell her side. Her silence rearranged the narrative for her. The camera caught what the tabloids missed, a woman stepping out of the wreckage with grace sharpened into armor. When a celebrity breakup hits, everyone always demands the truth. The one sentence, the one scandal, the one flashing red moment that explains everything. But the truth about Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban wasn't a singular explosion. It was the slow burn of 2 people built from different storms trying to merge into one calm sea. Nicole had spent years trying to hold the structure together, protecting Keith, parenting through chaos, balancing a home split between 2 global industries. Keith had spent years trying not to drown in the expectations that came with being saved. Their love was real. Their fractures were too. And as the years passed, those fractures stopped being repairable. When the divorce hit, the illusion collapsed, but the truth surfaced. This wasn't about one betrayal, one fight, one headline. It was about exhaustion. Nicole exhausted from anchoring the ship. Keith exhausted from feeling like the troubled passenger. Their marriage didn't fail with drama. It failed with a sigh. And now, the world finally sees them clearly. 2 artists, 2 parents, 2 people recovering from the weight of a myth they tried to uphold for almost 20 years. If you're ready for the next scandal, hit subscribe. This saga isn't the last.